I guess I'll just start off and just say I'm thrilled to be back. Couldn't be more excited to continue on this job. And we had a great process the last few weeks trying to figure this out together collaboratively. I don't think this actually happens in pro sports, honestly, where you have these kind of conversations and genuinely, authentically try to figure out together what's the right thing, So I'm very lucky to be in this organization, to work with the people I do, to work with Joe and Mike, and before that Bob Myers, and where it truly is a partnership, and we're trying to do what's the best thing for the franchise. And we literally spent a couple of weeks trying to figure out if the best thing for the franchise was me coming back. And ultimately, for me, I took about a week to really think about whether it was the right thing for me. And my wife and I spoke every day about it. And bottom line was I still love what I do, which is what I told you guys throughout the season. I love coaching. I love being part of the Warriors. And so at the end of about a week, my wife and I decided let's keep doing this if the Warriors want me to keep doing this. And it was, my wife said something. She said, you might coach again someday, but you'll never coach the Warriors again. And that was really meaningful to me because I love this team. I love our players. And that struck me. I couldn't imagine walking away from the Warriors. And so at that point, it was really, what do you guys want to do? And we had great meetings. And over the course of about a week, we all agreed, let's do it. And so here I am. So I'll take questions.
I don't know how specific you can get, but, what within those conversations mattered, what changes, or just, why did you guys decide it was right for you to be back, and what made that so?
Well, ultimately it was, I think, just the partnership and what we have and what we've built. And I think, what we had to get to was, it wasn't so much, here are all the changes we need to make, because we know we need to make some change. I know I have to be better. I didn't have a great coaching year this year. I know there are a lot of things I can do better. And Mike and Joe know they have a big job on their hands this summer. We've got to find somebody in the draft who can help us and, make a couple good signings, maybe a trade. Who knows, right? So that stuff was more general. It wasn't sort of, here are the things I need or here are the things they need. It was more just an inflection point for the franchise, where we are, where we've been, and what does it look like. And with the injuries to Jimmy and Moses, I think we had to come to much more reality-based, shared vision of what does success look like for us? What are we trying to accomplish? Because for the first time, really since the injury plagued year, what was that, 19 or 20? We aren't sitting here saying, hey, we can win a championship, right? So I don't need to say that. We all kind of know that where we are right at this second. And so I think we had to hash that out. We had to talk about all those things. One of the things I feel really strongly about is I want to get better. I want to lay a stronger foundation for next season that will carry forward for years to come, beyond when I'm here. I think that's important to the franchise. I know that it's important to Steph and Draymond. And frankly, this year, I think we got a little away from that. We got a little too loose, obviously literally loose with the ball. But I think because of our age, because of our injuries, we spent a lot of time kind of resting. And I got to tighten the ship up next year. And so these were all parts of the conversation. But the idea is, let's see how good we can be. and we think we can still be good. We've got to get some guys back from injuries. We've got to make some moves. I've got to do some things, but let's run it back. Let's see how good we can be, and I think we were all really excited about that.
What does tightening the ship and laying a stronger foundation for the future look like for you?
Well, for me, it's and Mike and I have agreed on this. We have to fix the turnovers. I've literally been watching all of them from the season, the last few days. And that has to be an organizational-wide effort. Everything we're doing in player development, we have to look at fundamentals, decision-making. We've got to think of creative ways to implement things in practice that will help us become better decision makers. But we know that where we are right now, we have to win on the margins. And we knew that last year coming in. We wanted to win the possession game, get extra offensive rebounds, limit our turnovers, and we didn't do a very good job of it. And so that's on me and that's on my staff to try to make that happen.
You're listening to Warriors head coach Steve Kerr, who signed a 2-year contract, meeting with the media at Chase Center.
Joe, talking to Mike, how much did you hear from them, and how much input did they have?
I was in touch with both of them. They did not have any impact or influence on whether I was going to be the coach. And that's a credit to them. I think one of the strong points of our organization is that our best player, who is one of the greatest players in the history of the game, is not telling Mike or Joe what to do. He understands the repercussions of that if he wanted to go down that path. And it's not healthy. It usually doesn't work out well when a player tries to dictate what an organization does. So Steph has always recognized the sanctity of that wall that should exist. But we had a lot of discussions and talked about everything, talked about our team and some of the things I've just mentioned where we can get better. I know he wanted me to coach. I know I wanted to coach him, and that mattered. But ultimately, we have a really special, strong bond that should carry over into our success as a team. I think I have a better chance of coaching this team than anybody else because of that relationship, my relationship with Draymond, my intimate knowledge of our team and our organization. And as I said from the beginning, I still love what I do. If I were tired and burned out, then I would not be doing this. But I love my job. I love coaching the Warriors, being in this city, being in the Bay. So it all worked out.
Steve, as you literally watch every single turnover, how vast of philosophical changes need to happen to tighten those things up?
Well, there's only so much you can change philosophically. It's really more about the approach. It's not so much about style of play. We actually changed our style quite a bit this year. We ran more 5 out, than we have ever before because of our personnel with Quentin and Al and Kristaps that, for the last 25 games, whatever. We haven't had space 5s. This was also the first time we didn't have an offensive rebounder at the 5 with Loon's absence. It really changed the dynamics of our team quite a bit. But we changed quite a bit strategically, but you still have a personality as a team, and as long as Steph and Draymond are part of that personality, you're gonna see them do their thing. Their 2-man game that you saw against the Clippers that won that game. But we have to figure out the process of creating better possessions. We have to look at everything. That's what we're doing. Obviously, things were jumbled this year with all the injuries and made it difficult, but we can't use that as an excuse. We have to go into next year with a really clear plan, and our players have to be part of that this summer. It's not like we're going to show up on October 1st and we're going to say, hey, here's what we're doing. I'm literally going to be talking to our key stakeholders and leaders within the team and bouncing things off of them. And so you'll see some differences, but basketball's still basketball. It's it's not like all of a sudden we're, going from the wishbone to the, run and shoot. I don't know. I mean, that was a terrible metaphor. Anyway, you can only change so much, but your process can lead to better decision making, better fundamentals, and that can lead to better possessions, and then you capture momentum from there.
I think within that, as you watch the playoffs, aside from just talent, is there a certain type of players or trends that you're seeing that could help you guys as well too?
Well, we've been really studying all those trends for years now. It's what we do every summer. We have every one of our assistant coaches is doing deep dives on what's happening around the league. Analytics department is making suggestions, and you're seeing it around the league. You see the changes in the way people play. I think the example I've given you guys before is every coach I ever had, if I took an early shot in the, a jumper in transition, they would say, no, that's a bad shot. It's you can always get that shot. And now we have analytics to prove that that was dead wrong. The highest efficiency shots are the earliest ones in the shot clock. And it's not just throw ahead for layups like the old days. It's throw ahead for threes. Those are really good shots. And everybody's trying to create early shots before the defense is set. We know that. And we're trying to do the same thing. So we have to match our personnel with what we're working on this summer, what we're implementing in the fall, and really be ready to roll that first day of camp.
Hey, Steve. Steph likes to mention meaningful games, which I kind of think aligns with what you've been saying today. And you guys had that moment in LA where that very special moment. Is that kind of the chase right now, having those moments?
Yeah, but we want more of them. We want to be able to feel that way consistently. This year was really weird because it felt like we were locked into 10th for about the last 10, 15 games. There was nowhere to go, up or down. Created a really weird situation where we went into that Clipper game without much of an edge. We weren't healthy, we weren't sharp, we hadn't played a meaningful game, and I think our team showed what they were made of by playing an incredible game to pull that game out. Literally meaningful basketball, and so I know it's still in them, and we've got some young players who have gained great experience, who are really getting better by the day, and that's exciting. And yeah, we want to create a meaningful season where we are putting the best version of ourselves out there, winning games, putting ourselves in the hunt, and then getting Moses, Jimmy back, and best case scenario, we build that momentum and get guys back, and we feel like we can make a run, and that's when you do that, that's all you can ask.
You're listening to Steve Kerr on his season-ending press conference with the Bay Area media after he signed his 2-year deal.
Draymond, how do you sort of balance that with obviously trying to reshape the team and get younger or move forward, fix some of the things you've talked about? What does that look like, I guess?
Yeah, I mean, I think the things I've been describing are what that looks like. And I think that means that we have to, we meaning our staff, Steph, Dre, our veteran players, we have to be willing and open to some new thoughts and ideas about how we're going about our day, our practice schedule, study habits. Can we do more without taxing the players too much with their legs, with all the games we play? Can we implement some things? Can we just be sharper and strategically, if there's a couple changes, can you guys get out of your comfort zone a little bit and embrace something different? It's not going to be dramatic, but it's enough where if we're going to win on the margins, then everybody has to be open to the fact that we've got to get better. And I will tell every player that I look in the mirror first. I've got to be better next year, and I'm excited about the challenge. But I'm going to ask them to be better too.
And sort of a non-basketball question, but you acknowledged in the New Yorker in review that you needed to soften your tone sometimes on your political comments, and that became a talking point a bit the last 3 weeks or whatever while you were deciding. Was that part of these conversations? And how are you going to do that going forward? I mean, how are you viewing that whole issue?
It never came up. I think I've learned over the years the balance, and I think for the most part, I've found a good balance where I can speak my mind on things that are really important to me and represent the franchise in a dignified way. But that literally never came up. That was not a part of the conversation at all in terms of whether I was coming back or not.
How would you describe, kind of your relationship with Joe and the complexities of, clearly some of the conversations at the high level are Joe's vision of the future and the grandness and where this is all going and the end of this era. Just how would you just kind of describe that?
I think Joe and I have great respect for each other. I mean, I was here as a player all those years out at Oracle when the crowd was loving it and the team was lousy. It just was. I mean, the team did not have what it has now, which is strong, really strong leadership, incredible infrastructure, and a vision for winning. Everyone booed Joe when he said we're going to win a title or we're trading Monty, whatever it was, right? But you can't argue with the results. Like Joe came in here and he built a pretty incredible organization on the business side, on the basketball side, and we've had a great partnership. Doesn't mean we always agree, and nor should we. We want to be pushing each other. And the only thing I would reveal from our conversations, and I don't think he would mind if I shared this, but we were talking about our injuries and how this is the first time where we can't realistically just say, hey, let's win a title next year, And he just said, I'm the owner and I can't help but just say, I expect to be in the playoffs every year and have a shot. And frankly, that's one of the reasons why we have done that. It's because of his vision and his passion. And I admire that. I love that. I think he sees the same thing in me. We're both incredibly competitive, and he's going to be frustrated with things that I do, and I'm going to be frustrated with, his reaction sometimes on the sideline. If he's upset with something we're doing, that's all part of it. But we have great respect for one another, and we share the exact same goal, and that's ultimately why I'm coming back, because if that didn't exist, then this would have ended.
Steve, in the ESPN story, it sounds like your family pretty much universally wanted you to keep coaching.
Yeah.
A lot of other people did too. How much influence did other people's opinions have? And did sometimes you think they could see that this was where you were supposed to be better than you could see it?
Well, yeah, my daughter, I think may have been in the article, but she said, Dad, don't focus on, the 2 or 3 things you don't like about your job. Focus on the 100 things you do like. And she said, most of us don't love everything about our jobs. I was like, yeah, that's true. It hurts when your kids tell you the truth and you realize they're smarter than you. I was also reminded of a great story. It was like 25 years ago. There was a baseball player who retired. He said he wanted to spend more time with his family, and then a year later he came back. And the media, when he came back, he said, what happened? He said, well, I wanted to spend more time with my family, but I realized my family didn't want to spend more time with me. There was a little bit of that in there too. It's a very healthy separation when I fly off on a 10-day road trip, and I'm really kidding on that stuff. My family knows me better than anybody. I'm happiest when I'm on the court with my players, when I'm collaborating with Mike and the organization, and I love this. And even through the struggles this year, I love the struggle. I love the challenge. And what Margot said to me, if you leave, you can come back and coach, but you can never coach the Warriors again. That was the most meaningful thing.